I would like to do a second round, and I know Senator Moran is interested in that as well. It's recently been disclosed that the previous administration's Justice Department seized phone records of reporters with the New York Times and the Washington Post and the phone and email logs for a CNN reporter. This is particularly salient for me, having just returned from Ukraine and Georgia, where I met with reporters from Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty, who talked about the challenges they are facing in Belarus and in Russia because of efforts to threaten reporters so that they won't do their jobs and actually provide information to the public. So I understand that the department is no longer going to seize journalists' records when conducting leak investigations. And I would just ask, do you commit to ensuring freedom of the press? And can you tell us what policies are in place or you expect to be in place to ensure that there are no additional efforts to seize phone and email records of journalists unless they're involved in legitimate criminal concern?
So this is a very important issue. The President has made clear his view about the First Amendment, and it coincides with mine. It's vital to the functioning of our democracy. And that extends to the need for journalists to be able to go about their work disclosing wrongdoing and error in the government. It's part of how you get faith in a democracy is by having that level of transparency. What you were talking about, these were decisions that were made under a set of policies that have lasted. I'm not casting blame. What I want to be clear is these were under a set of policies that have existed for decades, that continuously with each new administration ratcheted up greater protections. But going forward, we have adopted a policy which is the most protective of journalists' ability to do their jobs in history, and it is, as you describe, that we will not use compulsory process in leak investigations to require reporters to provide information about their sources when they're doing their job as reporters. That is going to be our policy. I'm meeting with people within the department. It's been reported that I'll be meeting with people outside the department, so I'll leave that aside for right now, in order to figure out, but that is the basic policy, and that will be issued in some kind of memorandum, obviously, from me. You have a good point, which is in developing this policy, we have to distinguish between reporters doing their jobs and reporters committing crimes unrelated to the leaking. So there are some definitional questions, but I think they are quite resolvable. And that's going to be our tasks over the next few weeks.
Well, thank you very much. I want to follow up on Senator Graham's questions about the backlog in our immigration courts. And I have a question first about, which is more a clarification, because I was surprised there wasn't a budget request for the legal orientation program. As you know, this is a program that provides basic legal information and explanations of court proceedings to those who are going through immigration courts. Can you tell me if the department plans to continue this program and what the funding level will be?
Yeah. Included in our request for the Executive Office of Immigration Review, $22.5 million would continue to support that office's legal orientation program, which, LOPS, which I take it is what you're referring to. And in addition, we've requested $15 million. There'll be $15 million for a new pilot to provide access to legal representation for immigrant children. So you have our commitment that we're going to be continuing this process up to the, obviously up to the amount of money that's provided by the Congress.
Well, thank you very much. Having worked with Senator Moran several years ago when there was an effort within the Department of Justice to eliminate that program, I think it's very important that it continue. Given that the immigration courts are not independent like the federal court system, there are a lot of organizations like the Federal Bar Association who have argued that they should become Article I courts. Do you support leaving them the way they are, or would you advocate to make them a separate system?
Well, there's an issue that I haven't thought about with respect to the sort of the way in which to structure this. I do think that the court should be as independent as possible. I understand that was the reason in the Homeland Security Act that they were taken away from INS, Immigration Naturalization Service, which went to Homeland Security, and the courts were left with the Justice Department. At one point, they were all together at the Justice Department, and that was an effort for security, for independence. And I believe that immigration judges should be left alone to do their work, and they are, of course, subject to review. The question of whether they should be Article I courts and completely independent is really a question for the Congress. I would be happy to think more about this, but obviously that would create even more independence. And so I just leave it at that. This is an issue of congressional policy.
Well, as you and Senator Graham, in your back and forth, it's very clear that we have a backlog in our immigration courts. And even though Congress has provided more money in the last few years, at least since I've been on the Appropriations Committee, we still have seen that backlog grow, not diminish. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but I do wonder if we need a fundamentally different approach. We also need immigration reform, as you pointed out. So thank you very much, Senator Moran.
As long as we're making corrections, I've been advised I kept saying a 1.5 million person case backlog. It's actually 1.3 million.
Yes, that's the number I have too. Thank you for that clarification. Senator